Henry Ford said, whether you think you can do something or whether you think you cannot do something, in either case, you're right. We will come back to this quote. I also want to share a little story. One time I was flying to the US and I was sitting on a plane next to Vladimir Posner, who is a renowned Russian-American journalist. And when I was sitting next to him on a plane, I thought that I need to seize the opportunity and ask him something meaningful. So I turned to him, apologized for the interruption, and I asked him, Mr. Posner, what do you think is the most important thing in life? And he replied to me, the most important thing is not to lie to yourself, to be honest with yourself. I didn't expect him to say that. But now when I think back on that interaction, I realize that what he said couldn't be more true. So in this video, I want to talk about the relationship with yourself and why it's so important not to settle in your life. Your relationship with yourself is the most important thing that is the foundation, the cornerstone of your life. Everything else that's happened in your life stems from this foundation in one way or the other. This video ultimately is about integrity. It is about honesty. It is about listening to your intuition, hearing your soul, understanding what brings you joy, and realizing what is your ultimate mission on this planet, in this lifetime, and what you should be actively pursuing. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Polina. If this is your first time here, I'm very excited to see you here today. I really hope that you will achieve crystal clarity in terms of what you're after, and then nothing will hold you back. The first important aspect of refusing to settle is to start hearing yourself. I feel like throughout our lives, we have adopted so many voices of other people because we are not isolated from the society and we're constantly listening to others. And oftentimes we can't even filter it out. We can't filter out some of the opinions that are not serving us. And instead we're like sponges. We are taking everything in, and all of these opinions start to form the foundation, like the mental framework in which we think. So the challenging question is, once you absorbed all of this exterior information, how do you hear your authentic voice? I think it is incredibly challenging to think outside of the template that was predetermined and preset by your society, by your immediate society especially. But it can be incredibly rewarding to embark on this path of self-awareness and self-discovery, because I think that's where happiness is. That's where it is. It's nowhere in the external world. Your happiness, the key to your happiness is always within you. Okay, my big suggestion on how you can start getting outside of that template that has been almost like pre-installed by somebody else is you can start reading books about people who did something differently. I think it's very empowering to read about people who chose a path that truly deviated from what everyone else was doing at the time. For example, you start realizing that maybe a 9-to-5 job is not for you. And then you're like, oh my God, but everyone is doing a 9-to-5. So how do I escape this template that I must be doing it? Let me learn about other people who don't have a 9-to-5 and how they created a system that works for them. And if you want something radical that's more like high level, I really recommend a book that's called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I must have recommended it in some of my other videos, but I love this book so much. And I think it just truly allows you to think outside the box and be like, oh my God, there are no rules. I can do what I want to. I can follow my passion, my dreams, and benefit the world by doing that. Sometimes it's very important to erase some of the more harmful beliefs that we have adopted and that truly hinder us in our own growth. Besides reading and learning about other people's path, I also highly recommend spending time by yourself, with yourself, and actually like without the phone. Because being with the phone or with any other electronic devices, it kind of defeats the purpose. You're no longer by yourself. You're no longer alone because all of these notifications and the stream of opinions from social media or from texting with someone, you're no longer isolated from the society in general. I read this book by Cal Newport. It's called Digital Minimalism, and I really loved the book. And in one of the chapters, he talks about how humans are never alone anymore, because we live in such an interconnected world that we're never left to our own devices, and we never spend enough time in solitude. And sometimes that's exactly where the creativity lies, in solitude. And give yourself time and space to just dream and think and create and envision your life and what it could be like. I really hope that these advices can help you think outside of the template and can help you hear your soul and understand what makes you feel happy. Once you start the process of trying to hear yourself, you can also start assessing different areas of your life. Where am I settling? Where do I want something different? Where do I not feel passionate anymore? And what simply could be better in my life? And I understand that some situations might seem inescapable and unavoidable, but I feel like you can still start strategizing for the future. Even if something cannot be changed right now, you never have to take any radical steps. That's not what I'm promoting in this video at all. But you can just start thinking about little changes you can make that eventually, maybe 2-3 years down the line, maybe 5 years down the line, will still lead to a different outcome. Because sometimes, even if you change your trajectory by 1 degree in 5 years, like the 2 lines will be really far apart. Another thing you can do is, if something works really well in one area of your life, you can project the same mental model onto another area of your life. Because ultimately, they're all the same thing. It's all about relationship with yourself. And if you know how to build relationships in one area of your life, you can apply it elsewhere as well. I have learned this lesson through my relationships with other people, specifically through close relationships like friendships and romantic relationships, where I decided that I genuinely don't want to settle. I don't want to settle in the matters of spending time with someone who doesn't bring me happiness, or with whom I feel like I'm not evolving, or who doesn't value me as a person and doesn't value my individuality. So that's one area of my life where I have been more particular, like, oh, I'm not settling. I don't want to settle. And I can allow myself not to settle. And now I'm slowly learning to apply the same principle to my career, to my work, to my other areas of life. So I encourage you to sit down and think critically about your life and think about, what can I improve? How can I improve it? What can I learn from my own life and lives of others? And again, this internal work, it is the cornerstone of ultimately not settling. The next point I want to get to is believing and planning out your life so that you don't settle. I would like to go back to the quote that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can do it or you think you cannot, you're right. You're right either way. It is about your belief in yourself." And believing in yourself can also be, again, one of the most challenging things you will ever do. Everything depends on your template and how willing you are to change that template that has already been installed into your mindset. It is very important to work on your self-belief, to work on your dreams and goals, and take small steps. I don't encourage you to take leaps. Sometimes life might make a leap for you because the change needs to happen, and the change always benefits you. But unless your life prompts you to take decisive action in this particular moment, you don't have to. You can just be taking small steps. It's like what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. Just take small steps, small changes, and you can start seeing the results 6 months down the line, maybe even 3 months down the line, maybe even a month down the line. You don't know, but start taking those steps. It's also very cool to test things out. Take an hour out of your day to just test something out. Create something, write something down, send an email, try something out. We live this life to test things and to have fun with things, and to get better at them and pursue our passions. And through pursuing our passions, ultimately serve the world and make the world a better place. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Everyone is scared of mistakes. I'm personally terrified of mistakes. but I'm still like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. What's the worst that can happen? Let me still try it out. Another helpful thing to get you moving in terms of believing in yourself is to write down a list of your achievements. You can be doing this on a regular basis, or maybe you just want to sit down once and write it down and then maybe pin it up somewhere where you can see it. And then you remind yourself, wow, I've done so many different things, which means I can do it. I can make incremental change in my life. My life doesn't have to be the way it is right now. My life can always be getting better because I'm in charge of my life and it is my responsibility to change my life. And if you find yourself procrastinating with changing your life, I also recommend you watch my video on procrastination. Procrastination is a big problem in the modern age because we're just flooded with all this information all the time, and sometimes it's hard to just be like, oh, okay, I need to take this action to get from A to B. But you can always work with procrastination. It doesn't have to be your fate. In conclusion, I would like to mention another book that I just finished reading. It is called Love's Executioner by Irvin Yalom. He is a retired psychology professor from Stanford, and something from this book really moved me. One of the stories that he was sharing in this book was about a retired couple that felt that death was imminent, that death was impending. They both stepped into retirement and they were feeling like they don't have that much time left to live. And this couple was sharing how they had so many regrets in life. They had so many regrets because sometimes they simply wouldn't do something because they didn't believe they were good enough. So they wouldn't even take steps to try to achieve it. That's why I'm encouraging you to reevaluate your life and think, oh, where am I settling? Will I have regrets about this later? It's always better to do something and make a mistake. And change is possible for as long as you're alive, no matter your age, no matter where you are in life. Everything is doable, possible. Sometimes it just takes more time to get from point A to point B, but it doesn't mean that you can't start moving in that direction. Please stay tuned for more videos, and I really appreciate you watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.